very respected Professor VC-MG Dr. M.P. Singh, the Executive Secretary of the School of Managerial Sciences, Director of the Institute, Professor Singh and Prof, the faculty members from the School of Managerial Sciences, both the Varanasi and Lucknow campuses. At the very outset, I would like to congratulate the School of Managerial Sciences for taking up such an important issue. And I would like to begin from the point where Professor VC-MG ended. He ended his talk with the quotation of Vivekananda, "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached." I am reminded of another quotation of the same great man. He says that the basic purpose of education is the manifestation of best in an individual. If we, in the academic institution, are able to ensure the manifestation of best in an individual, perhaps this problem of a skill gap would not be there. The skill gap is there merely because we have not been able to develop these students to their full potentials. I am going to speak on the topic the skill gap, an issue which is not bothering only the people from the corporate world, but also bothering the policy makers at the country level. And perhaps it is most bothering the pre-academicians, because this issue is raising a finger towards the effectiveness of the educational system of the country itself. And you are the faculty members, many of you are having more than 10 years of experience. So I personally believe that since you have been in teaching and experience for all these years, you have capability to contribute to this very important issue as to how the skill gap can be bridged through adopting some new kind of teaching pedagogy. Lord Buddha has said that it is the context that gives meaning to any phenomenon. You change the context, the meaning of the same phenomena will be changed to a great extent. So unless we do understand, unless we do have an insight into the context, perhaps we would not be able to understand the phenomena in the right perspective. So the skill gap, pedagogical innovations. I would like to talk something about the context in which these two issues are to be looked at. And I personally call it the scenario building. In the very beginning, I would try to build the scenario and also elaborate the background with the help of nearly 6 or 7 slides. I will be trying to outline the gaps and also the reasons therefore in our educational system, particularly the professional education systems. Then I will be focusing on the teaching learning dynamics. Teaching learning dynamics, to me, is the greatest actor in bridging the gap, the skill gap, or the competency gap. And since the whole education will be depending around this teaching and learning, I would like to spend a few minutes just to brush up your memory regarding the basic principles of learning and also the taxonomy of learning. And in all this, I shall not be taking more than 20 minutes. The basic purpose of building scenario is just to give the start to the collective brain starting session. As I told you in the very beginning that you all have got an experience of teaching, research, You have all are knowing the ground reality. So you will be able to contribute to this pedagogical innovation process. Recently, I have been in Mumbai. I was sitting with one of my friends occupying a very senior position in Reliance industry. I was sharing my concern about a very low level of placement this year particularly. So he was aware of this fact that the B schools across the country, they are facing a difficult time. They are not able to provide placement to their passing out graduates. But he also did share his concern. He told that they do have a number of positions, they are looking for the competent people and they are finding difficulty in getting the people with the required quality and skill. I could come across the two streets. On the one hand, the graduates who are passing out from the B schools or any other professional institute, they are not getting the job. And on the other hand, the corporate people, they do have the job, they are not finding the people. Immediately, I was reminded of the outcome of that survey. And I would like to share with you the outcome of that survey. The survey was indicating the percentage of employers finding difficulty in getting the people with the required set of skills. And this percentage was very high. In case of Japan, it was 81%. In case of Brazil, it was 71%. In case of US and India, it was 49 and 48% respectively. So let us take the Indian figure. On the one hand, 48% employers, they are finding difficulty in getting the people with the required set of skills. And on the other hand, the placement percentage is very low in the B schools or other engineering colleges. So these two states. Second thing which he pointed out, that look, the globe as a whole started feeling the brunt of the economic recession in 2008. So prior to 2008, the skill set requirement was entirely different. And this economic recession through which the global economy is passing through, it has given birth to a number of challenges. And in order to meet those challenges, the old set of skills would not work. A new set of skills has emerged. And so while designing the pedagogy, while talking about the course curriculum, we will have to keep this fact in very mind. Another fact which I would like to put forward to you, just to have some context, is skill-based training. I do know that India has the privilege of having the younger generation, that we call the population dividend. But we shall not be able to make use of this population dividend as long as the skill gap exists. In most of the Western countries, 80% of the workforce have got skill-based training. They have undergone some kind of skill-based training. But in India, this figure is as low as less than 10%. Indian economy is not doing very well. The GDP growth rate has come down to approximately 5%, which is the lowest during the last 10 years. On the other hand, only 10% of the workforce has got the skill-based training. Even then, the government is hopeful of increasing this space from 5% to 6.77 or 8%. So this is the scenario. So a few facts. These are the facts, they are self-explanatory, and you are intelligent enough to make something concrete out of these facts. Higher education system, 4,50,000 engineers and 4.5 million graduates. But because of this skill gap, India has not been able to make use of this population dividend. Second, again the same thing. The survey indicating the poor employability of the passing out graduates. It is 25% in the case of engineering and management, even less than 25%. What would be the percentage in case of the BA and the MA, the traditional courses? You can very well imagine. And on the other hand, by 2015, there will be a market of 5,50,000 workforce, check workforce, and that too at the engineering and the management level. Next. Our government is trying hard to come out of this situation. You must be knowing that the gross enrollment ratio of India is 18.5%. At the beginning of 11th 5-year plan, it was nearly 12%, but during this plan period, it has gone to 18.5%. But even at this level, it is much lower as compared to the international average standard. International average standard is 27%, so we cannot reach the international average. If you look at the Western countries or the developed countries, the gross enrollment ratio is more than 70%. So a long way to go. So how to increase this gross enrollment ratio? Either by increasing the number of institutions or by increasing the number of intake to each one of the existing institutions. It will be another burden on the existing educational system. We are not getting the faculty. If you look at the IIMs or IITs, the premier institution, 35% faculty positions are lying vacant. And they are, on the other hand, the kind of graduates we are producing, they are not meeting the expectation of the corporate world or the, you can say, the world. Think of, if the intake is increased with the same infrastructure, what will happen? It will be equivalent to compromising with the quality of the output. Even today, the quality of output is not up to the expectation, but after increasing the number of students, perhaps the quality will go further down. So there is a need for effective intervention. Now let us try to understand why this is skill gap. We have been talking to people from the corporate world, either when going out or when they are coming as a member of the campus team. They have always been expressing a disconnect between what is being taught at the institutions and what is really required in the corporate world. This disconnect, this gap. And perhaps this disconnect is majorly responsible for the skill gap. We academic institutions have not been able to impart the skill, knowledge set which is compatible, which could match to the corporate requirement. One thing could be that we don't understand what they need. And we don't understand what they need because there is not proper interaction and you can say exchange of experiences and views. That's why we don't understand what they need and they don't understand what we do. So this is the scenario. These are the gaps in educational system. Next. Reasons. The extent I have explained the reasons. The disconnect is existing between the academic institution and the life, real life. because the education is not industry oriented or the real world kind orientation is not there. It is management programs are being run just like pure academic programs, which is evaluation based, syllabus based curriculum. And perhaps the main objective, the corporate world, whom for you are preparing the students, their needs are not taken care of. Then the rigidity, somebody was pointing out that rigidity in the syllabus remains. The management education must keep up, or it must move in tandem with the changing corporate world. The moment there is any change in the corporate world requirement, it should be incorporated. Rather, the educational institutions should be proactive. They must have capability to foresee in advance what is going to happen in the corporate world and incorporate those things in advance. And that freedom is not available to the academic institutions, and majority of the academic institutions are affiliated to the university systems. The cycle of syllabus revision is 3 to 5 years. It was rightly pointed out. Okay, I agree. It should be more frequent. But even after 3 to 5 years, what happens? The course is being revised scientifically based on certain need assessment or not. So we are not going to go deeper into that. But that is one of the problems. We are teaching a old syllabus which is not matching with the corporate requirements. That is the reason of this skill gap. Next one is, again, we must introspect ourselves. The lack of industry experience of the teachers. Later on, we will be talking about how we can overcome this lack. A teacher who is with you for the last 20 years, not having industry experience, you cannot say goodbye to him. We will have to think of some mechanism so that he can also be given the industry exposure. Recently, a survey was conducted just to see what percentage of faculty engaged in the professional education have this industry exposure. And it was only 23%. It is the 77%, you can say, faculty. They were from pure academics and they do not have any real industry exposure. I should not say that they don't have the industry exposure. They do not have the real experience of working in the real organization. Yeah. That is the pure science that is talking about it. I think the most important is the management is a professional course. So our focus will not be and should not only be on the academic content, which we call it the hard skill, it was rightly referred to. The soft skills, the personality attributes, your aptitude and attitude, they should be also given due focus. And merely by designing a course curriculum, you will not be able to take care of this very important aspect. That aspect can only be taken care of through the pedagogical practices, innovative pedagogical practices. So while designing this, while innovating the pedagogical practices, we will have to take care of this very important aspect because it is also a very important factor in bridging the skill gap. These are the personality, there are many personality attributes that the entire look for. There is the poor quality of students. This issue was raised by one of the faculty members. Majority of the students, they are coming from the rural backgrounds. So one thing we can do, we can look across the professional institution, across the globe. we can have a basket of the best practices across the globe and can try to have those practices. But we will have to look at the bottom side, bottom level also, the poor quality students. So whether we should go for this inductive kind of learning or the deductive kind of learning, let me tell you that in most top B schools, they go for the inductive learning process, from exercise to the concept. They will start discussing a case and the student will be able to understand the underlying concept and the principles. But perhaps in most of the schools, the students are not prepared, they are not of that mental level. So I don't say that we should not go for that kind of pedagogy. We can begin with other type, deductive, the concept, theory, and then the exercise. And later on we can shift on the inductive after giving them a level of exposure. So this poor quality of students and educate industry contribution to teaching learning process. I personally feel that the industries are the beneficiaries. They are the people who are either getting the advantage of the good quality output or being hit by the poor quality of students. Supposing there is no skill gap between the passing out and the corporate expectation, they will be getting market-ready students, and they can be put on the real world without investing a single penny on their further study. So the industry should also look at this aspect from this angle. And they should come forward and join hands with their technical institutions. It was told in the beginning that this gap is merely because of the disconnect between the two. And unless they come together, unless they join hands and take the joint responsibility of grooming and nurturing these students, this disconnect will not vanish. So the industry will have to look forward, will have to come forward, will have to join in this teaching learning process. Then the next. Okay. So this is, I was just trying to underline the gaps and the reasons thereof. There could be n number of reasons. My objective was just to make you aware of the situation, just to give a glimpse of the situation, not to discuss each and everything. Second thing is this teaching learning dynamics. Ultimately, this will be the great actor in filling or bridging the skill gap. It has a tape left-hand side before the student enters, and will go beyond the institutional boundaries when the students will be passing out and will be becoming the part of the corporate world. So not many activities. Input quality of the students, there the government will have to take the responsibility, because if the primary and secondary level of education they are providing poor quality of the students, you cannot expect the better input quality at the higher education or the management education. So let us forget about that, because for us that is uncontrollable factor. What is controllable? It doesn't mean that the students up to 10+2 or up to graduation they are not good. Our responsibility will be to attract the quality students. So that extent we do have the control on that variable also. We can control the input. How to control, that will be a bigger issue, a bigger challenge. Then in any academic institution, I call it, you can say, a triad. And the three corners are being occupied by the teacher and the students. I have not mentioned the non-teaching staff or the supporting staff. It doesn't mean that they are less important. They are considered to be steerer of an initiative. They are the people who are providing the platform and creating the atmosphere where the teaching and learning will take place. They are the people who will be creating this whole infrastructure and ensuring that life is there, the classrooms are clean, everything is working. So they are also important, but I am not mentioning them. My focus is only on the teaching teacher, the faculty, learner means the students, and of course the process through which the teacher will be grooming and nurturing the students for an end objective. So what is this learner? Let us talk about these students and let us forget about the poor quality of these students. Once they have come in, we will have to own and we will have to make them the best product. And we have to see that the learner's expectations are fulfilled. It is not that an institution has the expectation from the students. The students do have also the expectation from the institutions. So if you look at the employment pattern, again I would like to take the center of our research finding. It is 84-85% students after completing their graduation, they would prefer to go for the corporate world. I am talking about the latest 10, not the 10 years. 10 years back, the figure was much more. And very interestingly, some of the management students, they have developed interest for the academics. And this percentage is approximately 12%. And the remaining 2 or 3, they are preferring to go for self-employment. So now we will have to ask a question to ourselves. Whether we are preparing the students only for the corporate world or we have to meet the expectation of the 3 categories of the learners. Whether we should be driven by the majority 83% or we should also take into account the expectations of the academic oriented and the self-employed oriented people. Perhaps the answer would be, okay, we will have to take care of the expectations and the aspirations of all the 3 categories. You will agree that if a teacher or a student who is aspiring to be a teacher, there the skill requirement will be slightly different. We may agree that if you look at the competency portfolio, 80-90% competency portfolio will be common, but the sector-specific, job-specific portfolio will be slightly different. So the learner's expectation must also be kept into mind while designing the course curriculum and also when deciding about the, you can say, the pedagogical issue. Then we passing out graduates. Let us focus on the process. And the pedagogy means the process. Process is well in our control. With the best process, we can convert an inferior product or inferior input into a better output. So we have to focus on the process, and perhaps that is the, you can say, the theme of this workshop, pedagogical issue. I was just wondering whether this pedagogical issue will take care of redesigning and modifying the syllabus or not, or it is just the method and practices of teaching, and that too in academic context. I could take the help of an experiment. I just wanted to learn what is the literary meaning, what is the exact meaning of pedagogy. And it was given that it is of method and the practices of teaching, and that too in academic context, in its academic environment. I was wondering whether this issue of modifying and retuning the syllabus as per the changing requirement will be a part of this pedagogical issue or not? I personally feel that it should be a part. Because the method and practices, when we call it practices, practice is a very wider term, it can include any area of activities. So one thing should be clear, that the syllabus, fine-tuning of syllabus, and imparting that fine-tuned syllabus to the students will be the whole area of activities to be discussed and to be considered. And as you know that a process will have certain objectives. A process will be heading to something. And unless we know in advance where we are heading to, we shall not be able to decide the direction of that path or path of that process. So let us come to the skill requirement. 3 categories of students having 3 different kinds of aspirations: corporate world, the academic world, and the self-employed people world. And then I was trying to understand the skill requirement. And you know that this issue is a very debatable issue. A lot of debate has already taken. It is still continuing. And I am sure that it will keep on continuing in the future. And the reason is simple and one reason. But a set of requirements is time specific. At any point of time, a set of skills will be relevant, and the moment that time is gone, that could become irrelevant. So this set of skills is dynamic. So I thought that which kind of skill we are looking for, which kind of skill set and what kind of knowledge we need to impart through curriculum and the pedagogy and the teaching methods. When I was, you can say, scanning the literature, somebody was talking 21 skills. Somebody was talking 5, 7, 10, 21, 30. So I was confused. So then we decided that let us try to develop a few points. Because you are a management students and most of you are engaged in the research process. When the number of factors is too many, we can go for the factor analysis. The likely factors will be grouped together, and a large number of factors, large number of variables will be reduced to a few important factors. And these are the indicative skills. Let me tell you very clearly that these are the indicative skills, and they are not the conclusive skills. And these skills can never be conclusive because they are dynamic in nature. With the changing time, they will keep on changing. So these, they can raise debate, you can raise questions, you can express difference of opinion. So we are not here to spend time in resolving that difference of opinion. We do agree that certain set of skills will be there. And the students are to be groomed and nurtured, keeping in view with this ability to be team leader. Again, a very strange story I would like to share with you. During my Bombay visit, I could meet a consultant, a high, good level of consultant. I should not say that outstanding consultant. Again, the same thing was being discussed. The academic institutions, they are not able to come up to the expectations. Why not? So he was very blunt in expressing his views. So he said that why you people at the academic institution focus only on the syllabus and teaching case studies. I asked, I took it very otherwise. What do you mean to say? He told that if you want to make your students success, keep only focus on the team spirit development. Although it cannot be accepted, because okay, the team spirit is most important, we cannot ignore the academic rigor and the fundamental academic rigor. But he had a point. With all technical knowledge, with all soft skills, ultimately we have to deliver, and we have to deliver in a group of the team situation. Unless one has the capability to become a good member of the team or a good leader of the team, would not be able to deliver, which could have been because of his competency. So the competency and the expertise will take the second seat, and the team building, team member, team player will become, you can say, the most important. So these are the things, young number. I have made it clear they are indicative, not conclusive. So the next one. Again, this teaching learning process. Because we need to develop these skills and the knowledge domains with the help of a teaching learning process. And teaching learning process will be depending upon learning. The mode of learning could be different. And the retention. Day before yesterday, I was sitting in the interview selection committee. A student who completed his MBA in 2012 and when was being asked the fundamentals of marketing and the fundamentals of finance. In most of the cases, the answer was, sir, I was out of touch. I have not been able to brush up my memory. So right now I shall not be able to tell. Why it was happening? It was happening merely because the retention level was very low. It was happening because the retention level was very low. So when deciding or deliberating upon the pedagogical issue, we will have to see which mode of learning will be more effective and which mode of learning will be culminating or will be leading to greater rate of retention. Again, these some findings. Can it be seen from the back side? Or shall I read it out? Okay, the descending features. The highest retention is in case of the three activities happening together. Reading, seeing, hearing means listening, and the doing. So that's Professor VP Singh was indicating towards the end. Or he might have indicated in the very beginning that the learning, then doing is the best exercise. I am reminded of the English saying, 100 times listening is 1 time learning. And 100 times learning is 1 time, you can say, practice, doing. And 100 times practice is 1 time, you can say, the knowledge. Again, we are focusing more on the information, just important transferring the knowledge from this side to that side, without looking at the knowledge element of that knowledge. So we are in knowledge economy, so knowledge should be focused not only on the information. And perhaps the next era would be the wisdom era, which is a step ahead of this knowledge. So this will facilitate the deciding or determining the pedagogical issue. Then next, again the same thing in the other words. It's a very famous concept given by Bloom in 1963, and he looks at learning with 3 objects. One is the cognitive learning, that will happen your logical power, what you are learning will be imprinted in your mind. So this is, we call it, you can say, the knowledge part or the head part. Same thing. Then the psychomotor. Means you are just putting the knowledge on use. you are making use of body limbs. It means the body, physical, then the mental, and the last one is the affective. It will be your attitude and the aptitude building. It will be leading to your heart. So body, mind and heart. So while designing any pedagogical tool, you can say, all these are to be hit. Pandey is the founder of my institution where I was working in. He says that an academic institution will half function if it does not focus on the development of the heart power with the same solitude with which it develops the brain power. So he also says the same thing. We have to hit physically, mentally, and spiritually, or you can say for your mental makeup. Next one, the principles of learning. The most important principle is that the principle is the learning is an active process, and that is the reason that the students sitting in the same classroom, listening to a same teacher, the learning is of different flavor. And active doesn't mean that you are just physically sitting. You will have to be physically there, mentally agile, and then and in case of learning, you can say relearn, learn and relearn. If you are sitting with certain preconceived notion in the classroom, then perhaps if a glass is full of water and if you want to pour more water in the glass will not accept. So similarly, if you are sitting with a preconceived, preoccupied thinking, perhaps the real learning will not take. So that is all together. One learns better at his own pace. There are 13 to 14 principles of learning. One learns more when he or she learns at his or her pace. Now try to correlate that one of the gap, poor quality of students. So if we decide to adopt the same pedagogy which the other VC schools are adopting, we will have to keep also look at the quality of the students which we are admitting and who are to be groomed. So their pace, we will have to assess their pace of learning, and accordingly the pacing which are and the object oriented. It means the readiness to learn, and the readiness to learn will not come unless the participants is very clear of the end outcome, end result, end incentive. So many times the students, they do spend 2 years in the academic institution without understanding where they are heading to and what is the basic objective. So that the pedagogy should take care of this important aspect also. They must be told very specifically the objective, the destination where they are heading to, then the learning will take place. So I have taken a little more than 20-25 minutes for scenario building, and my objective was just to give this thought of the collective brainstorm. So this is the scenario in which we have to decide about the pedagogy to be adopted. It doesn't mean that we are going to decide about the pedagogy of tests. And now you can say a wide pedagogical portfolio is already there. Since I have been associated with the institution with sitting with corporate testing, so I know that he is much ahead of the other schools of this region or the other part of the country. And the innovation doesn't mean that you keep on repeating, keep on working on the prevailing practices. We have to think beyond that. So let me initiate the discussion. The first gap which we identified was the lack of industry orientation. And perhaps that is the greatest issue, greatest challenge for any B schools. One thing I would think, so there should be a proper networking between the academic institution and the industrial one. And extend, I mean that the teachers should be sent out for a corporate internship for 1 month or 2 months. And at the same time, the people from the corporate world can be invited and associated full-time in the teaching. It's a theoretical. When we look at any kind of innovation, then it will have 2 dimensions. One is the theoretical dimension, means the okay, it's ideation you can say, ideation and conceptualization. And second is the operational part. It looks very fancy that look, the faculty should go out and spend 2 to 3 months in 3 years or 5 years. And the people from the corporate world, they should come and teach the full time. Operation part we will have to look into. If a faculty is ready to spend 3 months, where he will be, whether he will be welcome or not, who will welcome? If we intend, academic institution intends to invite people from the corporate world for 2 to 3 months, who will spare the executive. So operational problem is there. Idea is there, but how it can be made functional. We have been trying to take care of this aspect through this guest lecture and the teachers going out, meeting with the people, corporate people. But perhaps the purpose is not being served, because that is a practice which is already in existence. And that practice has not been able to bridge this disconnect. It means something more has to be done for this bridging the gap. And one thing I will perceive is that let the people from the academic world go spend 2 to 3 months, have a real life exposure. It will take it will take the care of 2 things. One is the faculty, lack of faculty industry exposure to some extent. It will build a strong bondage. Both the parties will come together. And once an understanding is developed, it could be culminated into some different kind of agreement. Emotional bondage may be converted into, you can say, the company can own something, some process of trading. So now this collective brainstorming session has begun. Now you can react and we can discuss. I have just given one clue.
Thank you for initiating the discussion on this industry orientation. On this point, I would like to add one more thing. That normally for the industry orientation, we call people from industries either to interact with students or to take the interviews for the placement. One thing is that there must be interaction with the faculties, with the industry people regularly. As